Welcome, everyone, to episode 13 of the Clubhouse. I am joined here with my co-host, Austin, of course, and as you can probably tell, real ones will already know by the logo. I am joined today by recent day tour at NAIC, retro enthusiast and unofficial Pokemon ambassador. It is Evan Cole. Welcome to the Clubhouse.
Hello.
How's it going?
Oh my God, thank you so much for having me. Long-time listener, first-time caller, so hoping I can make a good impression. I'm just honored to be a part of this iconic institution of a TCG community podcast.
Yeah, we started checking our DMs, and you had been pounding the door for the last 6 months.
I've been sending emails.
We haven't even been doing it.
No.
Yeah,
Okay, I actually don't know if we got any emails.
We'll double check for emails. They're always good to spice up the end. But we got a great episode in store for you, dear listener. We're going to talk, of course, about Evan's NAIC run, plus some retro side events, probably some retro in general, and perhaps about Balatro. Because that's in the agenda, and, can't ignore that.
But I just threw it in there.
And you got back just last weekend, right? How was travel and all to New Orleans?
We got extremely lucky. So I flew into New Orleans on Wednesday. I left on Monday. On the Thursday, the day before NAIC, there were tornadoes in Chicago that heavily impacted flights. I know a few friends who had their flights canceled, unfortunately. And then we left New Orleans on Monday, and on Tuesday and Wednesday, there was a tropical storm that went through. So meanwhile, the days I was there, it was great weather. It rained once for like 20 minutes, and otherwise it was beautiful out. New Orleans weather takes a bit of getting used to for us Midwest folks, but
yeah,
I don't think it's that bad. Like, you kind of get used to it once you're there and just stay hydrated and appreciate the AC when it comes. And that's one thing I like about the South is that they definitely appreciate their air conditioning. I can trust that every time I'm inside, it will be a good temperature. So I think it was a good, successful trip, very productive, played a lot of Pokemon, and I already miss it. I love NAIC. It's like my favorite weekend of the year, so I'm glad that this was another successful one.
How many games of Pokemon do you think you played?
Probably less than normal because of the playing in a tournament is not super efficient when it comes to maximizing your games in a weekend. Like, if I'm playing casually with people, I'm getting way more matches in because I'm not limited by the round timer for other people. So I played 14 rounds of Swiss. Most of those were, I'd say, I think half of them were 2 games, the other half were 3. So split the difference there. That's maybe like 38 games. And then I did the 2016 tournament. That was another 5 games of Pokemon. And then on Sunday, I had the chance to play some casual games, and I got like maybe 6 games in. So probably less than 50 total, which is not a lot of Pokemon if you know me. When I'm at a regional or an IC, if I'm not in the tournament, I'm jamming as many games as I can from the moment the venue opens until they kick us out. So I still had a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. I'll play Pokemon anytime, anywhere. So it was good.
Yeah, you're a serial spectator, at least recently. Is this your first standard event or second at a regional level? Did you do anything this year besides NAIC?
So this season, I entered 2 championship point earning events. I entered NAIC, and I played in a League Cup at our store in Evanston, and I got top 4 at that League Cup. And then I got top 512 at NAIC, so that was all the standard I did this year. And I still walked away with 112 points. So probably could have gotten
pretty
Ace
good.
Trainer if I tried.
Yeah, not bad at all.
Yeah,
I've
that's actually
already
kind of
been
crazy.
ever since the Sword and Shield block fully left. I have not been playing as much Standard. Around like a few years ago, Lost Box, I was a huge Lost Box gamer, loved it, and then I played it basically up until F block finally rotated. And after then, rotation is usually a time for me to naturally stop paying attention as much to Standard until I find something I like. But this past year, I was dealing with a lot of stuff with my personal life, as well as I've been helping run a new league at Dice Dojo store very close to me. So I've been focusing a lot of my Pokemon time on that when I can, and I've really enjoyed it. It's been a great season for me in terms of my overall presence in the Pokemon community, but definitely not any Standard going on. I would currently call myself in retirement when it comes to competing in Standard.
Yeah, there's a lot of great ways to be a part of the community without necessarily going to every championship awarding event, and it's maybe a very timely place to talk about it, as we're now officially in the off season for events, at least for non-worlds competitors. So maybe some people can learn from you and all the different ways you enjoy the hobby.
That's something that I've really enjoyed exploring. When I was like hardcore competing, when I was like teenager in high school, it was a lot, and I really enjoyed it. But also, especially when it came to trying to succeed at that regional level, I did not have the mental fortitude. Like I would get into my head a lot. I would start to get nervous, and I found myself actively unenjoying, like I was disliking my experiences at these tournaments. But I realized it was because I was being hard on myself when it came to like my results and my competition. And so I stopped competing and I started spectating regionals, and I realized that it's so much fun. Like, you're telling me that I can go spend a weekend doing nothing but hanging out with my friends and not stressing about a tournament and a format that maybe I'm not too interested in. So spectating is great, and then that kind of paved the way towards other ways in which I could participate. So like there was Madison regionals in 2018. I spectated, but I actually was part of the staff there, not as a professor, but the TO, Jimmy Ballard. He set up a special event where, so Jimmy Ballard, Super Pokemon OG, second place World Championships 2006. He has been TOing all the big tournaments forever. Part of Day 2 events most recently. He also helps with, I don't know if they're called Day 3 now, but I know
Day
that they
3.
TO'd NAIC last year.
Oh,
Anyway, he loves retro. He's one of the first people to ever have like a huge retro collection. And so at this tournament, what he did was he set up like a side event where he put me on a stage with just all of his retro decks, and random people were able to come up to me and play retro with me. And if they won, I got to like give them packs. So something like that is really cool. It's a way that we can enjoy the game and play without having to compete. And I wish we did more stuff like that nowadays. Like, this was 8 years ago is when that event happened, and even if it's not just that, having all these like community options available to us, I think is really great. And I think once you enter the game, you play Standard for a while, you kind of get to know people that way. Getting to take that extra step towards focusing on your relationship with the people in your community and your relationship with the game as a whole outside of just winning events, it's very liberating and can give you that best connection with the game and others. So even if you're not competing, there's lots to do. And I always encourage people to try new things within the realm of Pokemon and see what sticks.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I know you as obviously a retro enthusiast. Talk to me like about your history with the game, because of course, like some of the formats we've played, like you and I together even, are now like retro formats, of course. But talk to me about like your history with the game, and also especially your history with retro and those older formats that like you and I weren't really around for.
Yeah, so my first set of the Pokemon TCG was Majestic Dawn in 2008. Um, I was 8 years old, and I was given some Majestic Dawn for my birthday, and instantly fell in love. Uh, I had been given a copy of Pokemon Diamond for my birthday as well, so that was like my first introduction to Pokemon in general. Diamond's a pretty good one. Shout out Gen 4. I do have a special place in my heart for it. So I played locally around that time. I was a junior, obviously, so I just played at whatever events we were holding in good old Fort Wayne, Indiana. And Nationals used to be held in Indianapolis, which is like at most a 90-minute drive from Fort Wayne. So for the 2010 Nationals, my dad drove me down and we went. And back then you could enter for free when you were a junior. So I got to enter the event for free. I got to compete. I had the worst deck of all time. Like I didn't play meta decks. I didn't really know much about that. So I played this Blissey Magmortar deck that was like Blissey from Mysterious Treasures and Magmortar from Secret Wonders as like energy acceleration type deck. It was awful. But then I discovered Jay Witz and his show Profit. And that was a way for me to kind of keep in touch with Standard and to focus on learning the game that way. Even though I didn't really have access to the cards that were good at the time, just knowing what was happening in the game was really fun. And so then 2011, I went back to US Nationals. This time I had brought Reshiram Embor, which was slightly more competitive than the previous year's deck, but like not that much more. I think I went 4-4 at that tournament, so not bad. That was my last year as a junior. Then middle school happened, so I didn't really play Pokemon because it wasn't cool anymore. And I got back into it when I was a sophomore in high school, which would have been when Ancient Origins came out. So super late 2015. I guess, no, that would have been like maybe like August 2015, somewhere around then. So that was when I came back to the game, dove headfirst into competitive, and I'd say that was the time when I actually like stuck around. So from 2015 on, I've basically been around in a meaningful capacity. The thing was, during that like 4-year, 5-year gap where I wasn't participating in Standard or going to many events, I still had my cards from the time. And what I would do is I would go sit in the living room or on my floor, and I would like play the two decks against each other. And I'd have like them side by side, and I would just play one and then the other and go back and forth. And I would just do that. So I still had the cards, and I always was fond about those cards. I'd go watch those old Jaywitz videos. And so even when I started competing again during the XY on was the standard format at the time, I still had an interest in these Diamond Pearl era decks. And so that was like my first foray into retro, and it all kind of goes from there. So it's definitely started with 2010 DP era, and then 2011 because I really enjoyed that format. It's a very unique format in the game's history. And then I met Kara Queren, who kind of introduced me to the rest of the story of retro. She showed me like the EX era Gen 3 and how awesome those formats were. So I started building a lot of those. And then, yeah, I'd say the rest is history at that point. Then I've just always been around. I've continued learning about these formats, building them, playing them. It's a lot of fun, meeting a lot of people through events, locals, regionals, NAIC, all those. And I've always made sure to continue attending the really big events. So like I've I went to US Nationals again in 2016. That was the last time we had Nationals. And then I have attended every NAIC that has ever been hosted except for 2019. That was the one year I missed, but otherwise I've always attended it. And it's my favorite weekend every year. I love it. And part of it's because we get to play retro. So can't complain about that.
Yeah.
Right on.
Kara is Shining Espeon,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go follow her on Twitter and Twitch.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
That's
shout
that's
out.
true.
Yeah, good follow.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah,
that's good
speaking of
retro content,
NAIC, so it's been in Indianapolis was the first one, correct? Or did it
Yeah.
start in Columbus? And then it went to Columbus, right?
Mhm.
And then New Orleans, and now Chicago in 2026.
Yes.
I would define this podcast as a hyper-local Chicago Pokemon Northside podcast.
Yeah.
So big news for us and our
Huge
listener
news.
base.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
How would
And
you for the history of it? How has these events changed from was 2017 the first year? Or was
yes.
it okay?
Yeah.
From 2017 to now, almost 10 years. Chicago will be the 10-year anniversary, I guess.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, 20. It's weird. It won't be the 10th NAIC, but it will be the 10th year
Yes.
of having NAIC, right?
Yes.
I mean, like I competed at US Nationals 2016. There were 1,100 masters in that tournament, and that was far and away the biggest tournament that has ever been held at that point. So compare that to the 3,752 people who played in last week at NAIC. It's definitely grown a lot. Back then, for that tournament, you had to go 7-2 to make day 2. And that was the threshold. Top 64 was the threshold to make day 2. So compare that to the 675 people who made day 2 at NAIC. I mean, that's bigger than what the regionals were at the time. The regionals at the time were around 500 or 600 people. So basically just played in a whole regional day 2. It's incredible how much bigger things have gotten. And my hope is that moving to Chicago, hopefully they're in McCormick Place, biggest convention center in the US. That is the best place we could possibly be if their goal is to just continue growing NAIC. And why wouldn't you? Like, the events are capping right away. People want to go. It's an amazing gathering hub, even just for people who aren't competing but just want to spectate. I have a lot of friends now who don't enter the main event, either out of choice or because they missed registration, and yet they still showed up to New Orleans just because that's what you do. So now if you give everyone a chance to register, I really wouldn't be surprised if before NAIC leaves Chicago, we have a 10,000 plus player NAIC. I think it is very possible with the demand as well as the ease of travel to get to Chicago for people internationally as well as in the country. I'm very excited for what is in the future for Chicago NAIC. I think them choosing Chicago now shows how committed they are to growing the event. And I think that growth will ultimately be a net good for the community as a whole, for sure.
Yeah. Have both of you been inside McCormick Center?
No.
Yes,
It's
I have.
like C2E2 is like the big it's probably the biggest comic convention in the Midwest.
Yeah.
If not one of the biggest, like in the US. And like the scale of like just that hall is insane. Like it probably I want to say it's like easily like double or triple, definitely like triple what we normally get for like a regional in that hall. It's like you can spend like 2 days just going to all like the different places and then not even counting like a second floor that they have of like God, what is it? Panels.
Wow, yeah.
It's just like the scale of like that center is insane. And I think that like with them moving to McCormick and like how much extra space they have, I'm really curious like what they're gonna do with it. Like, are they gonna try and make this like a Pokemon convention for it and have like other stuff? Because like even if you just consider like the tables, which of course like the tables take up a lot of space and they're very economic about it, that still leaves a lot even if we have like the same event size.
I like to describe my first regional was at.
I wonder like maybe people tried to get in.
Ooh, sorry, we're losing you a little bit. You say again.
Bro. What did I say? Dang, what's wrong with me?
No, you're good. We can hear you.
Anyway. The scale of this event is crazy. The scale of the convention center is like insane.
Yeah, Chris Brown did an interview recently, like earlier this week, that got posted on, I think Game Rant posted it, and one of the things that he kept mentioning, which is tracks with what I've been hearing, like just from people I know, but word of mouth, is they seem very, very interested in creating an experience for people who are not competing. Like they want that fan experience, that spectator experience. So that's probably where a lot of their emphasis is going to be. The hall itself at McCormick is massive. I do wonder how long they can get away with the current structure, which has been having TCG, VGC, Go, Unite, side events, and the main stage all in the same room. Like, vendors have always been outside the hall at NAIC, so that's not really new, but I think they would probably be able to get a lot more space if they were to make a hall that is like just TCG, and then put like VGC and Go in the same room in a different part of the venue outside of the same hall as the TCG hall. In terms of space, the upside is definitely there. I don't know if it's worth it for disconnecting everyone, though, especially if they're going to keep emphasizing this opening ceremony, which as a player, I don't really care about, to be honest. I think it's more for the stream than it is for the players, but clearly they care a lot about the optics of this. Like, these tournaments at the end of the day are marketing tools for the Pokemon Company, and they are seemingly pushing that even harder and emphasizing that with their current way that they're building these events. So I'm expecting a lot of interesting new things to show up at this new NAIC location.
Yeah, it's really exciting. They split up Go VG from TCG at Seattle this year, where they had two halls, and then one of them was just the video gamers, if you include Go, and then the other side was TCG, and then there was like a bridge that connected them. And it was interesting.
You can check out episode 7 of the Clubhouse, actually, if you want to hear more about Seattle.
Yeah, it's a real callback. But I think it's a good.
I'll go see you guys later. Give me like an hour and 7 minutes, and then I'll be back.
Wait. Before you go, Evan, though, I really am quite interested in your run at NAIC this year, because you did certainly make day 2. I understand this is your first day 2 on this level, and we got the list pulled up. Pow.
Yeah. Whew. There it is.
Talk to me about this, because I see some spice. I see some cards. I don't quite know what's going on yet. Namely, like Chen Pao, namely Lucian. Enriching, I understand. We got the quad Wallies. Talk to me about the list a bit.
All right. So, like I said earlier, I've basically been retired from Standard. My friend Anthony convinced me to register for the main event. I was going to spectate, but he told me to register. I said, fine. I got in wave 1. I'm undefeated on registration. That's my true skill. I may not make day 2 a lot, but I do always get into the tournaments when I want to. So I was like, okay, I have to learn a deck. And I knew right away I wanted to play a Wally's Compassion deck. One of my absolute favorite effects in the whole history of the TCG is supporters that heal your Pokemon. So like there's Wally's Compassion, Penny, Turo, Sharon's Care, Cheryl, AZ, Mr. Briney's Compassion, Pokemon Nurse, Cassius, just anything that is a supporter that just heals your Pokemon. Pokemon Nurse, I forgot if I said that one yet. So, I mean, even Scoop Up Net kind of does that. Volo
Seeker?
does that too. Scoop Up Cyclone, right? Cards like that.
Seeker?
So. Yeah, Seeker. Oh
Let's
yeah,
go.
absolutely. So like, just so many options. I love
Yeah.
cards like that. It's my favorite. So like Wally's Compassion, I have to play it. I played Blissey at NAIC the last 2 years, and I thought about playing it again just for the hat trick, but Blissey already was too terrible last year. I didn't even want to try. I thought that Wally's Compassion embodies the soul of Blissey. You know, my goal is to tank and to heal and to never let you knock me out is my goal. So from there, my choices were either Lopunny or Starmie, and I only had like basically 2 weeks to prepare for the event by the time I started actually practicing. So I started with Lopunny, and I found out I really liked it, and so I just kind of never looked back. So this deck is heavily based on the regional Campinas list, the 9th place list from that regional. So this is the one with Lopunny and Froslass. Froslass is a great card. I love cheesing people out with it. Like, forcing them to keep their hand size low is super nice. And a thing that happened a decent amount during the tournament was, like against Dragapult, they would try to dig for their reset or for their unfair stamp to get me. And then they would miss the unfair stamp and now have a massive hand, and I could just one-shot their Dragapult like it was nothing. So that was a lot of fun. In terms of the specifics, so the changes I made, I added a 4th boss because I think boss is ridiculous. I love having 4, and I think I added another Hilda maybe, and I cut a Lilies. So the Lucian and the Chien-Pao were both in that list, and they both are really good. This deck's biggest weakness, since it relies on the Dunsparce, is Rocket's Watchtower just completely shuts you down. You need to have access to a stadium counter whenever you can. Most decks pair the Watchtower with Hand Disruption. So I can be holding onto a Battle Cage in my hand and going crazy with my Dunsparces, but they're not going to drop the Watchtower until they also hit me with an unfair stamp or a special red card or a judge, anything that can get rid of my hand and try to stick that stadium. So Chien-Pao is a way to give me many, many, many more outs to a stadium bump in my deck. And when I was practicing for the event, learning how to play the deck, I definitely bench locked myself a couple times, and then I got stuck being unable to play the Chien-Pao, so I learned not to do that when I was playing in the event. And even then, most of my losses to Dragapult in particular happened because they stuck a Watchtower, and I couldn't draw one of my like 8 stadium outs in the deck. You know, I'd have like a couple Ultra Balls, a few Pokepads still on the deck, and then stadiums and Chien-Pao, and I would just miss it entirely. So one thing I noticed is other successful Lopunny lists from this weekend played like four Ultra Ball, and I probably should have played 4 just to have the most ways possible of getting a Chien-Pao on the board. But that card is really, really, really good for the Watchtower. Because like the Dunsparce is so good that it is overwhelming. If you get the Dunsparce rolling, you are just going to have every card you need almost all the time.
Yeah.
And so any way to stop the Dunsparce is by far the hardest part about this deck. It's its biggest weakness for sure, but I think it's worth it. The Dunsparce is extremely powerful, and I love it so much.
Yeah, I think the Dunsparce is becoming maybe one of the most defining cards of the current format. I think it's for like generic draw engines, that's kind of all there is. Like you have the Dracloaks, which is probably the best, but it's not necessarily generic in the same way. And I think like the fact that you can recurse it back into your deck, and then off of Poffin, essentially set it up next turn. And then also, like, it's just onboard draw.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, with Alakazam, like, a lot of how the deck is kind of going is you just kind of keep those on board once you hit that critical number to get the knockout, especially with Unfair Stamp and the special red card kind of becoming a lot more popular now.
Yeah, both of those things you said are fully true. All weekend long, I kept saying I'm obsessed with the fact that the Dunsparce as an engine means your buddy Poffins are actually doing something no matter
All
when
game.
you are in the game.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. I was just
you're
thinking that.
super late game and it's like, let me drop a Poffin and I feel amazing about it.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And yeah, I generally am a patient player. I try to only use cards when I need to use them. Like, if I have a turn where I have to use 3 to Dunsparce in a turn, I am not happy about that because it means my next turn is going to be so much weaker. Like, I will have a Dunsparce sitting on my bench for like 4 or 5 turns just going unused because I don't want to put myself at risk where I don't have it available when I do really need to dig for something. So having that as like, you get to choose when to run away is great. Yeah, it's really good against like Hand Disruption in particular. So
Yeah, I think it's such a cleverly designed card. Where
Befitting of Dunsparce.
Yeah, like it's like 3 draw is really good, but then there is like this natural downside of like it's shuffling itself back in, and like the fact that it shuffles itself back in after you draw is really clever design because there is like a give and a take for it. Also, like introduces some really like brainy kind of sequencing. It's not difficult, but thinking like, oh, am I going to do this now, or am I going to Dunsparce, especially in decks like Dragapult, where you're recon directiving and runaway drawing.
It's like the Dunsparce doesn't thin the deck. It's a net +1 out of your deck. So like you're seeing 3 non-Dunsparce cards, but it's not thinning the deck. And it makes it riskier to just go runaway draw and then immediately runaway draw again. Because that second runaway draw is likely to just draw those Dunsparce pieces you just shuffled back in, which probably isn't what you're trying to draw if you're using it to Dunsparce, right? So like you have to do that sequencing where I'll use a runaway draw and it's like, okay, I can either Poffin for a single Dunsparce to get it out of the deck before I draw again, or I can use the second draw. I don't draw.
Yeah, do we want to do a cold open again to acknowledge the technical difficulties?
This will be the cold open.
Word. We just had a 40-minute discussion about this card, so we gotta keep it a little shorter this time. We were talking about how much we love the Dunsparce and how useful it was on your run, and how great the design is of the Pokemon, not just a card.
Yeah.
Would you like to give a summary of our discussion?
I think that it's great that Dunsparce got an evolution. I think as a Pokemon, it deserves it. I will also say like having the Dunsparce as like a pivot option is nice. Obviously, synergizes amazingly with Lopunny. Lopunny doesn't work if you don't have the Dunsparce to retreat into and then run away. I don't play the Abra because I didn't know that was a tech in the deck until after I played it. But seeing that every other Lopunny deck plays Abra, yeah, I totally should have played an Abra in this deck. But Froslass kind of makes up for it in turns where like maybe I can't do a full proper Gale Thrust. I can still just pivot into Froslass for big damage. And then one thing I want to say real quick is that Enriching Energy plus the Dunsparce is a very cool combo. draw 7, and then shuffle the energy back in to do it again. I didn't really use it that much, though. And honestly, enriching energy as a card is like fine in the deck. I'm kind of indifferent towards it as my ace spec. I was very tempted to play Hero's Cape, but Hero's Cape means it's a lot harder to like stream Gale Thrust because you have to be manually retreating every single turn or playing like switching cards. I was doing some digging on the other Lopunny lists, and I saw some of the least successful Lopunny lists at NAIC. They played Hero's Cape and they played Air Balloon, but they didn't play any other switch cards. And like, I feel like surely Hero's Cape is a lot worse if you are just manually retreating with no switching cards at all. So maybe something to revisit for folks. And I think like a 430 HP Lopunny is awesome, but enriching energy is fine. It's cool, and I like its the Dunsparce interaction. I did do that a couple times whenever I can afford to. So the Dunsparce is awesome. I love it.
Yeah, and really juice up those Hildas for real.
Oh yeah, Hilda's awesome. Hilda's so good.
Now I was thinking about the Dunsparce especially. I like that. I like that you draw before you shuffle. In that, like, you get to see the 3 before you promote, so it kind of like softens the blow a little bit of like, I'm shuffling this back in. I have to pivot now, but I get to see these 3 first, and I can kind of like make a more informed decision that way.
Absolutely. Especially when with this deck, there are many times where you're okay attacking with either Lopunny or Froslass. So getting a more informed choice about which one to use in that moment is very nice. But you're probably attacking with Lopunny if you had a Dunsparce active anyway, but you never know. Maybe it's a case where it's like, look, this Lopunny can attack, but maybe the Dunsparce will draw me a water energy that I need to be able to attack with Froslass. Something like that is a situation where the draw can inform your pivot better. Yeah, this deck is great. It has a lot of tricks up its sleeve. It only has really 2 attackers. Fan Rotom is solid, but you can't really rely on it, so it's not the most intricate deck in the format, but I enjoy having that flexibility, and I think that these 2 megas, they interact with each other a lot better than it seems like. It's not quite just mashing 2 random Pokemon together. You get a lot of options at your disposal when you have both. So I used both pretty evenly throughout the whole tournament, Lopunny and Froslass. Some matchups, Lopunny just solos, like the decks that rely on like Teal Mask Ogerpon and Lily's Clefairy and Fez. Those types of decks, Lopunny just absolutely runs over. And I really like Froslass for the like Dragapult matchup. It's really solid. Any decks that like have a really big hand size, Zoroark as well, just forcing them to keep their hand low. Alakazam, it doesn't really matter what Froslass is doing anyway, because you're always one-shotting them, so it doesn't really matter there, but Froslass just constantly policing your opponent's hand is awesome. And I want to talk about Lucian, because that card is great, and I love it in this deck. I think if you're playing Froslass and you're not playing Lucian, I don't know what you're doing right now, because Lucian forcing your opponent to hopefully draw 6 cards and swing for 300 with Froslass is amazing. It lets you one-shot a Zoroark EX, which is really, really good, because the Zoroark player is never going to let you do that, because then if you miss the KO, they can just Reshiram trade you for 3, right? So Lucian to force them to draw 6 is like an X factor in the matchup if you can pull it off. I did it against a Mega Greninja EX that had 100 damage on it, so I had 250 HP left. I was like, all right, Lucian, go draw 6 and I'll take the knockout. And then Lucian was pretty solid against Alakazam as well, just as a way to get their hand size down. So I highly support Lucian. There was this funny moment where I was playing against Zoroark, and I was in kind of a tough spot. My Froslass was already damaged, And it was like, well, I can either heal it and then with Wally and then be unable to do enough damage with Absolute Snow, or I can play the Lucian and try to make them draw 6 to take the knockout with Zoroark. So I play Lucian, and I flip heads, and my opponent flips tails, which is not great because it means I'm going to miss the Absolute Snow. And one of the players sitting next to us was like, oh my gosh, a perfect Lucian just happened in front of us in day 2. And I was like, no, this was not the ideal outcome. I wanted them to draw 6 cards. And I did not get to pull off the 300 damage off Lucian during this weekend, but it happened a lot in testing, and I think having that as an X factor it's funny, and it's a pretty effective use of a single card slot in the deck. So I think you should totally play it if you're playing a Froslass deck. That's my take.
It's a cute card. It definitely is like one of the interesting things about rotation is a lot of cards that were in the bulk bins for the last, I don't know, 2 years for Lucian's case, because it was Twilight Masquerade, are starting to get some play. There's another card, Qian Pao, that was a kind of a bulk card for the last year. I think it was Surging Sparks.
Yes.
And now it's like another card that's like played a lot in Standard. And quite a bit of decks. It seems like Qian Pao is like a default. Whether you're playing like one of the like Raging Bolt, I guess kind of Terra Box decks, whatever we're calling them now. Dragapult, I think, is playing it. Like anything, because we have like a couple of these very, I guess, oppressive kind of stadiums, and then not a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
Because you have like Watchtower, you have Battle Cage. There's decks that play like Area Zero, but there's no like Pokestop or Artisan, something that you can just play if you need like a stadium bump, even if it's like you need something neutral.
Yeah, my list plays Battle Cage, and that's basically just because like I need a stadium.
Mm.
But yeah, it's fine. It stops some Dragapult attacks, but Battle Cage is a card. It's kind of like Drapion V against Mew VMAX, where it's not really an amazing answer since they can just bump it whenever they finally need to use their Dragapult or Monkey Dory or Dusknoir. Like, yeah, you're not really gatekeeping them that hard with it, but you know, nothing else to play. So I'm definitely not going to play Area Zero or Jamming Tower to shut off my own air balloon, right?
Yeah, Jamming Tower is another one of those very kind of spiteful. The stadiums are just like kind of spiteful right now, which I guess is interesting. Like it's a good like balancing mechanic, but I'm not a big fan of the current stadium pool.
It's definitely on the more interesting side of stadium pools we've had, but
yeah,
I think that's a good way of describing the current state of affairs. Especially with G Block gone, I feel like G Block had the interesting stadiums for Scarlet Violet era. Even ignoring Artisan, we had stuff like Mesa Goza, Moonlit Hill, why am I forgetting
Beach
name?
Court.
Beach Court? Yeah, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stuff like that. I liked having that around.
And Path.
Yeah.
That was F.
And then the F block had some really, the F and E block had some really interesting stadiums. And I think that was like one of the most like interesting, the Sword and Shield era of stadiums were all really interesting, really good. Some of the most powerful stadiums probably in the history of the game. With like Path to the Peak, Pokestop,
Lost
even
City?
like Training Core. Yeah, Lost City.
Magma Basin is also really cool.
Magma Basin. Like there's a lot of these really interesting like stadium wars.
Yeah.
Where like there were actual like big game swings, it felt like. Especially in like the EFG kind of era. where people were really, whether it's like Pokestop or Path to the Peak or whatever. Temple of Sinnoh was another really interesting one.
That was a good card. Yeah. I just remember too, Town Store in G Block. I would love Town Store nowadays as just a generic, decent stadium to have if you just need a stadium to play in this format. I think Town Store would have been awesome.
Yeah, this would have been a really good Town Store deck.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think
drawing
at that
everything's
point,
kind of hard. I can't lie.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't find tools anymore.
No.
Yeah, rest in peace, Arvin. Made it so easy.
Yeah.
So easy.
What a card. Holy cow.
Yeah. Truly one for all time.
Yeah. I think
it came out at
Arvin
such the right time.
Yes.
Mm.
Arvin for TM Evo Buddy Poffin would heal me right now.
Oh, the TMs. See, this is what playing retro is for. We're reminiscing over these awesome cards, and it's like we can still play with these cards right now. We can go down to our local league next week and play with these cards because we can just play retro and just agree to build or bring whatever format we want that plays these cards in it. You know? Let's go play with Arvin and Temple and TM Evo and, you know, anything else you want.
Yeah, we did recently have it was Battle Styles to Paradox Rift, or perhaps Paldean Fates.
Yeah.
At our shop, this was 2023 Worlds.
That was
No.
that was 2023 Worlds.
My fault,
that was Battle Styles through Paldea Evolved.
Oh yes, thank you. Yeah. Minus like 2 sets there.
3.
4.
City and Flames, 151, Paradox Rift, and Paldean Fates.
It's okay, yeah, true.
Yeah. 2 real sets.
I did kind of sack that tournament by rocking up with Torterra, but it was super fun to play against those decks that I remember like very fondly beating my butt when I was very new to the game, like Lost Box and Mew VMAX and Lugia and all that.
Yeah. I feel like there's been I don't know whether it is, like a renewed interest in retro now that the current format is maybe not people's favorite and everybody still has their whole Scarlet and Violet, Sword and Shield era cards. There's a lot of people who are playing Battle Styles 2 Paldean Fates. I think there's no agreement on what we're calling that format. But it's very fun. Yeah, it's very easy to get into the post-COVID era formats right now.
Yeah, I mean the cards are still really cheap. Like you can still build these decks for very little. Some of the slightly older cards, like the VMAXs, are getting a little bit up there, but if you're interested in a retro format to try that's very accessible, yeah, Battle Styles through Paldean Fates is like perfect. There's a lot of different decks, a lot of cool decks, a lot of cool Pokemon. If you have a favorite Pokemon, it's probably decent in that format. You know, even like Cloth is good in that format, you know. There's like Blockalax, there's just the most random decks in that format, and it's very accessible. So I think this will be a format that is looked back on as like the preferred format for this relative era of the game. Like both of those Worlds formats, frankly, the Worlds formats for the last 3 years have all been quirky.
A little quirky,
like,
yeah.
2024 had Shrouded Fable just kind of really stick a wrench in the way that format is played. And 2023 Worlds is good. I like that format. I just think a lot of people see that format and they compare it to Battle Styles through Paldean Fates, and they're like, well, why don't you just add these 3 more sets? And then you get access to Charizard EX, Mew EX, Iron Hands, Roaring Moon, Sada, right? Like, so I think I think that EFG format, that's what I like to call it. I think it's very well positioned to be a format people play for a while. So if you're looking for a format to start playing, it's accessible, it's popular. It'll probably stay popular. Hopefully it stays accessible.
Yeah.
But I've been here for
I was gonna say this
16 years. I've seen card prices do crazy things. So
this is a big name endorsement. So get some arcs, get some arc V stars.
Yeah, right.
Starburst,
Build whatever
Starburst
arc pile
for 2
you want.
any 2 cards, any 2 trainers.
Wasn't Arc V-Star leaked?
Oh,
For the collection?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Because I think that's like one of the more expensive. Like those Arceus V-Star decks are like the most expensive in my experience. Oh, new VMAX is like not cheap. They're like $7 for the Vs, and then I think like the VMAX are not cheap either. And you need 4 of them for 3.
You don't need 4 VMAXs.
Yeah, 4 Vs, 3 VMAX. You could probably get away with like 3.
You could probably play 2 new VMAX. Some people used to do that, like a 4-2 line.
Yeah. Well, I think the really interesting thing about like the post-COVID regional or retro formats, which is kind of weird to say already, is that with a limitless, with a limitless, like the amount of like a list that you can readily find and like import cart on TCG Player is crazy.
Yeah. If you want to kill an hour tonight and you're listening, that's what you should do is go on Limitless, look at cool deck lists, import them to your TCG Player cart, look how cheap that it is, and then fantasize and wonder if you should click the button or not.
Yeah. This is
like
the Clubhouse does not provide financial advice.
No,
but definitely check out some
purely for entertainment purposes only. You don't even have to check out, you can just look at it and be like, oh wow, I can build all these decks for whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in 5 years from now, people are going to look at me and say, man, that aged so poorly. He really thought it would be cheap. How dare he?
Pokemon cards spike like crazy in the next year. They keep suddenly Mew VMAX is like $100. No, speaking of
all I'm saying is that this format is primed to be very popular and desirable.
Yeah.
I think if you are interested in this format and you're listening to it right now, you might want to consider buying decks now rather than later.
Yeah. Not getting.
It probably won't get any better than it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah. We might have to have the EFG episode at some point. But let's get back to current retro NAIC 2026 format. Let's talk about your run. Any notable matches you want to talk about?
Couple. So my first round was against a Hydrapple player. They were nice. I had never seen Hydrapple as a deck. Here's my thing. I've been very out of touch with Standard. I know Dragapult and I know Zoroark. It's basically it. Every other deck I'm reading cards on the fly. So with this Hydrapple deck, I see some Ogre Pawns and I see a Diplin, and then I'm like, this is the worst Festival League deck I've ever seen. What are we doing here? We're playing Force of Vitality in a Festival League deck? And then the Hydrapple came. But Lopunny eats Ogre Pawns, and then I did get to donk their Diplin with my Fan Rotom. So that was a fun way to end the match. Round 2 was against Benny Billinger. This was my first time meeting him. This is the 4th NAIC in a row that I've played against like a super, super top player. And I'm 0-4 in those matches.
Real.
Last year was Mace Berninkemeyer, World's 2015 finalist. The year before that was Stefan Tobacco, my goat, and he crushed me with Gardevoir. And then the year before that was Cody Walensky, 2016 World's finalist. That was very close match. Oh, could have gotten there. Anyway, Benny was very nice. He went crazy on his hammerheads. I also mulliganed 4 times game 1, and game 2 I prized both my Baniri in the last 3 cards. So, not a great match for me, but it's okay. Game 3 was against Mega Greninja EX, which has to be a terrible matchup for me, just because the Terra Greninja EX one-shots my Lopunny. Game 1, I got trounced. Game 2, I was able to... I forget how I won, actually. I cheesed them out with a Froslass, basically. I played a Lucian, and it was like... I had 2 prize cards left. I played Lucian. They flipped tails, so they didn't get to draw the 6 for me to take the last prize cards. But they shuffled their hand into their deck off Lucian, which is something I did many times while I was testing the deck. So I felt bad. And then game 3, I offered to tie after game 2 because we had gone into overtime and we had like a couple minute time extension. And so I was like, you just want to end this match now? And he was like, no, I want to play. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. It's a good matchup for you. And he opened Froakie, and he grabbed a Meowth, and he Meowthed for a Lily, played Lily, drew nothing. His hand was like full of Greninjas and like rare candies. Like, not even rare candy. He couldn't play a single card in his hand, whatever his hand was. And so I got a turn 2 Froslass, and I killed his Froakie, and I killed his Meowth, and that was the game. So we got bailed out of that one even harder than the Diplin match.
Real.
Round 4 is against Alakazam. Bad matchup. I got run over. They drew everything they needed. There's really not much you can do. So I'm 2-2, and I'm feeling okay. I haven't practiced much. The run's probably over. Usually when I'm in this spot where like I need to win out, I usually can pull out a couple rounds in a row before I flame out. In 2023, I started 1-2-1, and I won 3 in a row to get to 4-2-1, and then I lost that round 8. That was when you had to go 6-2-1 though, so I still needed 2 more wins, but like something like that. So I'm sitting at a table waiting for round 5 pairings, and I decide to open up my phone and to play this daily game called RNGeedle, where once per day you get to generate a random number between 0 and 1,000,000. And then you get a score based on what traits that number has. And I got Austin on this game too. He and I share RNGeedle rolls every day. So I did this roll, and I got like a top 1% number, like one of the best numbers you can roll between 0 and 1,000,000. And
wait, what do you mean best number? Like highest or like just awesomest?
Yeah.
It had really good traits. I don't remember what it was.
Dang. Rare number.
Very rare number, yeah.
Okay. Please continue.
So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I just used up all my luck for the day. So now I'm definitely done. And then like a minute later, pairings for the next round get posted. And I was hanging out at table 737, and I look at my pairings, and my match is at table 737. And I'm like, okay, so that's more luck I just wasted by being in the same seat as my pairings. And then my opponent is playing the same deck as I am, Mega Lopunny-Froslass. And the mirror match is the weirdest thing in the world. Basically, it's whoever can play more Wallies, and I got to play more Wallies, so I ended up winning. And that like started the streak. So I thought I ran out of my luck, and instead I won round 5, and then I beat 2 more Dragapults, which I think this deck has a good Dragapult matchup. I enjoy playing the Dragapult matchup. And so all of a sudden, next thing I know, I'm 5-2. And I'm trying to keep my composure so that way I don't like get too excited, then my round 8 opponent won't ID with me. And so I get to the match, and my opponent offers the ID, and I immediately took it. And whew, I've been playing this game for a long time to finally get that first day too. So that felt amazing. Like, yeah. At that point, I was just playing with house money. I didn't care what happened in phase 2. I was just happy to get to be there. So Then they threw a bunch of bad matchups at me, and I was able to kind of scrape by. I was given 2 Alakazams and a Zoroark. All 3 of those matches went the same. I somehow won a really scrappy game 1, and then like game 2, I didn't slow play. Like I'm not like intentionally playing slow, but I'm also not going to scoop the game if I don't have to. So like I will make you knock me out. If I'm going to make you take 8 prizes, you got to take 8 prizes, right? I will spend as many turns as I can in these matches. So all 3 of those matches, I win game 1. I play a very long game 2 where I force my opponent to like have all the resources and to really stress their management. And they won the game in time all 3 rounds. So they ended up being ties, but I thought I would lose those matches. So I was okay with it. And then Dragapults, I went 1-1 against them. That's fine with me. The Dragapult player I lost to, they stuck Watchtower, and I was just never able to draw out of it. It was a little frustrating. I never drew Ultra Ball the entire match. Like, at all. I never saw an Ultra Ball the whole time.
Right.
And also in game 1, I think it was game 1, they played Unfair Stamp before playing the Watchtower, which made me a little tilted that they play Unfair Stamp. I'm like, all right, cool. I got all these Dunsparce, I'm fine. And then they drop the Watchtower after they drop the stamp, and I'm like, oh. And I couldn't draw out of it. So
grimy.
That's how Dragapult has to win. And I will say, by the way, Crushing Hammer doesn't really do anything against Lopunny-Froslass. I got hammered a lot over the course of the weekend, and maybe 2 of those hammers actually did anything. Otherwise, it seems like they're just kind of wasting their cards. Like, I think the hammers need to come at the same turn you're using on Fair Stamp. Whereas I had a lot of Dragapult opponents where it seemed like they just went, ooh, I drew a hammer, let me play it, instead of being diligent about when they use their hammers. One of my opponents was actually smart about it. They saved all their hammers until their Unfair Stamp turn, but they flipped all 3 tails on their hammers, and I was able to get them. So that's just how it goes. And then I ended off the tournament with my first Ogerpon deck, which was pretty easy. Like, I play 4 boss, and Lopunny one-shots all of their Pokemon, basically. They basically had to try attacking with Kangaskhan and flipping 3 heads in a row. And they got 2 heads a couple times, but they never got all 3. And I was able to, like, one-shot their Kangaskhan or something with Froslass. So overall, I enjoyed my games. My opponents were nice, and I had a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Now, when you're praying for 3 heads, that's got to be a pretty bad matchup.
Yeah. I respect them for going for it. Like, they were very clearly playing to their outs. They were a good player. There's really not much you can do when the Lopunny player has all their Dunsparce out, and they just... One thing my opponent was doing, they kept like retreat locking me with Pecharunt and Wellspring Mask Ogerpon with Sob, but I was hitting my missed energies, or like they tried trapping my Roadhom, and I was like, okay, I'll just attack you with it. You know, swing for 73 times, knock out your Wellspring, then what do you do? So, good way to end the tournament, and I'm happy with how it went. I was not the highest placing Lopunny player. There was one person who got higher. I was 408th place. They got 401st place. So props to them. I'm just glad I wasn't the only person playing Lopunny in day 2. Because I did not see anyone else playing Lopunny other than my round 5 opponent. And I had several opponents, especially in day 2, say, I didn't know people still played Lopunny. Like, I didn't test for this matchup because I thought everyone stopped playing it by now. So that was kind of nice to get people with that.
Real. No, congrats on the run. That's super huge.
Yeah, big things.
It was a lot of fun. I'm glad that nothing was too controversial. Like, I had a couple judge calls, but nothing was too crazy. It was just like normal things happening, like accidentally shuffling cards into your deck, you know?
Yeah.
So, and the judges are really cool about it. They were doing a good job. So It is funny. I had 2 opponents on day 2 ask what sleep does because I put them to sleep with Froslass's second attack, and they were like, "Okay, what is it? What happens if you're asleep?" And
That's so real.
I would tell them like, "No attack, no retreat. You flip in between turns." And one of my opponents, they flipped tails on being asleep, so they stayed asleep, and then they attached to their Dragapult and they tried to retreat it.
Oh.
And I was like, "No, you can't retreat under a sleep." And they were like, "Okay, I'll attach my Monkey Dory instead." And I was like, "No, you already retreated to Dragapult. You gotta keep it there." It was in day 2. I felt like that was fair for me to tell them to do that. But overall, it was like very clean matches, and also my opponents were really nice. And I think that's the best part about playing at these tournaments. Most of my friends that I have had for so long are people I first met by playing against them in tournaments. So even though nowadays I don't enter events very much, I still always appreciate when I meet new people because I'm entering these events and having good interactions. So that's always my favorite part about competing, is getting to play with some really cool people. And everyone this year was really nice. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, very good. And this was not your only NAIC venture, right? I understand you were playing in 2016 Retro.
Yes.
And in fact, I got preloaded the deck list that you were on.
Yeah.
Oof.
Now
You gotta respect these arts. No full art Hex?
No, that is intentional. That is intentional. So, all right. 2016 was the single season I was most competitive. I played in 4 regionals, nationals, cities, states, league challenges. I was doing everything that season. And being a broke high schooler, I could only afford one deck, and Night March ended up being my deck. And I've always loved it. Night March is awesome. You got this dinky little 30 HP basic Pokemon, and it's one-shotting all your EXs. It's so good. It's so good. I saw a tweet recently that said, everyone knows an Unk that does not play about Night March. And I love that wording specifically because it could be positive or negative.
I know 4 Unks who do not play about Night March.
And how many of them love it and how many of them despise it?
Yeah. It's a bit divisive, certainly.
You either were a Night March hater or a Night March player, is basically what it was like at the time. And I was a Night March player. So I've always loved this deck, and I have always had this dream of having it be fully blinged out, like it was when I was playing at the time. And Full Art Hex Maniac came out after Worlds that year. So Full Art Hex Maniac did not exist at the time this deck was legal. So I can't use it.
That's how you know, man. No, that's
That's sick art.
This has been a passion project of mine for sure.
Is that the parallel city? What's the stamp on that? Is that a cities or a
cities parallel?
Yeah, that's the city championships.
That's tough.
And that's a staff promo. So
cities staff parallel. I didn't know they had
gold staff stamp on it. It's right in the middle of it too. It's awesome. I love it. So yeah, everything in this deck is the art I want it to be. Technically, I could use gold Pokemon catchers, but I don't really want to, because the text on it is different than the text on. So Pokemon Catcher got errated when X and Y came out. So I'd rather have a copy that has the correct text on it than the old text if I can help it. So maybe someday I'll get gold catchers, but for now I'm okay using the league promo ones. But the Ultra Ball's got to be gold. That's been my last thing. My white whale for so long has been the gold Ultra Balls, and I was very lucky to get some recently, actually. So I was able to trade for some, and I'm only missing one. That's the only one I need left. And I think if I had all 4, I would have won the 2016 tournament. But
yeah,
I did not win.
Well, for
Yo,
those
this list is crazy.
yeah, for our youngest gamers, they're looking ahead to this hide and sneak archetype. Maybe some of our older viewers perhaps remember Mad Party, but talk to us about Night March, the OG, and like 2016 in general. Because too, I think of Night March and like 2016 like engine trainer style as kind of like two they're kind of like intertwined in this way where it's like your discard is becoming such an important pile where it's often
Mhm.
not.
Yeah, Phantom Forces has to be one of the most influential sets ever released. Top 5, I would say. And you probably could argue it could be number 1. Ignore base set. That doesn't count. Expansions only. I think Phantom Forces could be number 1 on that list. And so Versus Seeker and Battle Compressor both came out in Phantom Forces. Versus Seeker has existed for a long time. It was first printed in Fire Red and Leaf Green back in 2004. But Battle Compressor is brand new to this format in Phantom Forces, and I think that is the single card that probably best represents this format. Search your deck for 3 cards and discard them is such a bonkers powerful effect that, like, in basically any other trading card game, that card would be banned. Or it would have heavy drawbacks. But like, it's a free card. You can play as many of it as you want per turn that just discards cards from your deck. Combine that with Versus Seeker, which gets you supporters from your discard pile. Then there's this very common loop in this format where you can Battle Compressor away tech supporters and just have them in your discard pile at all times. So Hex Maniac is a big one. Some decks just want to play Hex Maniac 5 times in a game. Play it and then Verse Seeker for it, and then Verse Seeker for it, and then Verse Seeker for it, and then Verse Seeker for it. Versus Seeker for Lysander is also crazy. Like, you get to play with effectively 6 copies of Boss in your deck. And my deck plays Pokemon Catcher, so this deck in particular has just an absurd amount of gusting effects. But I also love that there are a lot of interesting tech supporters in this format. This list doesn't play a ton because a lot of them are like disruptive. So this one does have Xerosic, which is one of my favorite cards in the format. Discard a tool or special energy from your opponent's board. Actually, no, it's just from the board. It can be yours or your opponent's. It just says discard one of them. There's Delinquent, which says discard a stadium in play. If you do, your opponent discards 3 cards from their hand.
Oh, yeah.
That one's awesome. Team Flare Grunt, just discard an energy from the board. And then you have stuff like AZ, pick up one of your Pokemon, or Maxie's Hidden Ball Trick, which is its own unique thing. If it's the last card in your hand, then you can play it, and you put a fighting Pokemon from your discard pile onto the bench, and you draw 5 cards. It can be any fighting type. It's kind of like Grimsley nowadays. So you can put a Gallade straight onto the board and then draw your hand. And you can use Battle Compressor to put the Gallade and the Maxi into the discard pile. Like, it's very self-sufficient. Ultra Ball is, I would say, the actual most powerful card in the format. This format has Shaman, which has setup. Shaman, very notorious, very powerful card. I'm not denying Shaman's strength. What I will say is that this is not the only format that has setup in it. And yet, Shaman is the most powerful setup Pokemon that has ever existed in the game. And it's not because of the text on Shaman, at least not entirely. Uxie is a 1-prizer that draws more cards than Shaman does. And you can still use setup multiple times per turn off Uxie. The difference is that in Uxie's format, it's hard to get your hand size down. There aren't many effects that let you take cards out of your hand other than just playing them naturally, which has its own restrictions, like with supporters and items, right? Or evolving. But with this format, Ultra Ball reduces the cards in your hand, and it gets Shaman. So there's a very common pattern in this format where you'll Shaman set up, draw until you have 6 cards, and then you'll immediately play an Ultra Ball, discard 2 cards to go get another Shaman, and then without playing any other cards from your hand, you can bench Shaman and draw 3. Because you're just replacing the Ultra Ball and the 2 cards you discarded. So that's extremely powerful. Ultra Ball can discard supporters with ease because you can play them later with Versus Seeker.
Yeah.
And I actually like that a lot. It's very nice to like have a handful of supporters in an Ultra Ball, and you actually want to discard the supporters off the Ultra Ball. That's not a very common thing in most parts of the history of the game. So this format's very fast, and it is defined by very intense trainer engines. This is probably the fastest the game has ever been, at least in the Nintendo era. In the Wizards of the Coast era, that's its own monstrosity. You can deck yourself on turn 1 in the Wizards era if you want to. But in terms of like a proper balance of drawing a lot of cards and actually utilizing them, this format is up there. That does mean there are some 10-minute long turns. That happens. Item lock is actually very prevalent in this format as well. Vileplume you can get on turn 1 with Force of Giant Plants. Seismitoad with Quaking Punch. Trevenant with its passive item lock. Like, there is so much item lock in this format. So that's really common. And it's kind of a nice foil to the heavy item engines that these decks play anyway. But yeah, so this deck, just dump all your Pokemon into the discard pile. 20 damage for each Night Marcher in your discard pile. There are 12 of them, 4 Joltik, 4 Pumpkaboo, and 4 Lampent. And then in this format, EX Pokemon generally have 180 HP. So you only need 9 Night Marchers in the discard pile to take 1-shots on 2 prizers. It's not that hard to do that. You can almost always pull that off in 2 turns, and if you're drawing pretty well, you can get 3 Battle Compressor off in a single turn. So it's crazy when it works. You go watch gameplay footage of that era, like, this deck is... I'm trying to think of a good comparison for it. This is like if Raging Bolt decks were twice as consistent and twice as fast as they were, like a year ago when just the pure like Sada Raging Bolt decks were around.
Yeah.
Or even like that Roaring Moon aggro deck that existed, right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
Night March is so much faster and so much more consistent. It's kind of crazy how reliable this deck is.
And the way your Roaring Moon like is Joltik. Or Mew, I guess. Yeah.
And Joltik attacks for just a DCE, so single energy attachment will get you there. Puzzle of Time is also just a crazy card. And it's a card that, if you play GLC, you probably recognize a good amount of these cards, even if they're not legal anymore. Puzzle of Time is not a card that GLC players have access to. And it's crazy. It is so strong and such like a lifeblood for this deck. Night March was good before Puzzle came out, but once Puzzle came out, that was really the moment where Night March just got elevated to that next level in terms of being so powerful and consistent. Because you used to have to play cards that would loop your DCEs. So I used to play Milotic from Flashfire, which was just when you evolve into Milotic, you get 1 card from your discard pile back into your hand, and that was it. And you were usually getting back DCE.
Yeah.
We also had to play Basic Energy in the deck just to make sure we could actually attack with like Pumpkaboos or manually attaching to a double Joltik. But once Puzzle came out, no, you just need 4 DCE and there's nothing else this deck needs. Honestly, you don't really need Dimension Valley either. I play 2 copies of it just in case Pumpkaboo wants to attack sometimes, but you really can just attack with Joltik and that's it, and you'll win games, no problem.
Does Deep Valley like affect Mew copying the attacks of like Joltik and Shaman and everyone else?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
If you played Basic Energy, you could attack with Mew with a Dimension Valley and a single Basic Energy, and you could still use Joltik's Night March. Mew came out after Puzzle came out, so there wasn't really a time when you would want to do that. But when I played... So back in 2016, every regional was expanded. So I was playing expanded Night March, which really wasn't that different. You basically get an A-Spec available to you. I think I played Dowsing Machine as my ace spec, but most people played Computer Search, I'm guessing. And then you also had access to Mew-EX from Dragons Exalted, I think is where Mew-EX came from. The one that lets you copy anything on the board. So with the versatile Mew-EX, which aren't we getting that again?
Yeah.
In Celebrations 30, something similar to that?
Yeah. Yeah, we are.
So that could copy your Joltix or single energy, but by the time Worlds came around, Night March got extremely streamlined and consistent. And I love it. I love a lot of decks in this format, but for a tournament, I had to play it. Like, I love it so much. It's so much fun to just get back in the seat. And there were some lines that I may have missed when I was playing in this tournament this weekend. Like, I remember at one point I was saying 2016 me would have known exactly what to do in this situation, and I'm out here having to figure out what my lines are in real time. But it's a very dynamic deck. It can kind of adapt to what its opponent's doing. It doesn't have to just go super crazy. You can kind of play a more longer game and go after single prizers if you have to, kind of go after their main attackers. Also, this tournament specifically, this metagame was pretty interesting. There were a lot of anti-Night March decks in the room. So there were 44 players, and I don't know the exact meta breakdown, but a lot of Greninja, a lot of Vileplume were running around in the room. So
Landorus was not in this format, right?
No, it was not.
Okay.
But
that's too old.
There is Yveltal from Breakthrough with Fright Knight, which is one of my favorite cards. Yeah. I just have to say, I love Fright Knight Yveltal so much. 60 to the active, 60 to one of your opponent's Pokemon EX. So you can knock out a Joltik and poke their Shaman for 60, and then next turn use another Yveltal, kill the Shaman, kill something else.
Yeah.
Also, XY Yveltal with Oblivion Wing is very useful against Night March. It may not seem like it because it's Lightning Weak, but Oblivion Wing just does 30 damage, which kills Joltik, and it accelerates energy. So it's it's all for one energy attachment, just a basic dart. So it's very efficient in its ability to take out Joltiks while also setting up your bench for like better attacks later on. We did have a YZG player do very well in the event. I think they got top 4. I didn't get to play against them, but I love YZG. That's Yveltal Zoroark Gallade is what it is. It's like a toolbox deck, but it revolves around those 2 Yveltal cards. And it's a shame that they both share the same name, so you can only play 4 total copies split between Oblivion Wing and Fright Knight Yveltals, because I would totally play a deck that just plays like 4 of each, and that's it. Quad Yveltal. That's the dream. So I played against one Greninja in Swiss who I beat. I played against a couple Vespiquen players who I got to beat as well. I lost to a Mega Sceptile, which is surprisingly difficult for Night March just because Mega Sceptile has 220 HP, which requires you to have all 11 Night Marchers in the discard pile, because I don't play Muscle Band, so I can't get that up to only 10. And I prize 2 Night Marchers. So I was looking through my deck at the start of the game, and I only saw 9 of them, plus the 1 in my hand, and I was like, this isn't happening. It was still really close, but they got me.
Yeah, and then those old megas are just 2 prizes, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're 2 prizers, and they have to evolve from the non-mega, but it's like still an EX, so it's like Sceptile EX evolves into Mega Sceptile EX.
Right.
But when you Mega Evolve, your turn ends. Unless you have a tool called a Spirit Link. So a lot of that match is me chasing down their Spirit Links. I play the Zerosic, I play Startling Megaphone, so I have a decent amount of tool hate in my list. But unfortunately, I took 4 prize cards, but I was unable to chase down their last Sceptile before it evolved. And then the Sceptiles were just running around healing each other before I could take those last 2 prize cards. So it was a good match. I didn't mind losing. beating Greninja was nice because that's a hard matchup and it was very close. But again, part of why I play so much Tool Hate is for like bursting balloons. So that's one of the best cards against Night March. I was able to get around those. And then in top 8, I was the only Night March player in top 8. Pretty proud of that to get to represent. I ran into my worst matchup, which is Vespiquen Vileplume. And we played a best of 1 top cut just for the sake of time. And I lost the coin flip and I mulliganed twice. So, of course, they got the turn 1 Vileplume. And my hand was like a Shaman and 5 items and a Sycamore is what my hand was. So Sycamore didn't draw anything useful either. I tried to keep going. I didn't concede, but they cleaned me up pretty quickly. So that was the end of my run, but it was a lot of fun. I love this format. I think it has a lot of valid criticisms against it, like 10-minute turns, a lot of item lock, a lot of ultra aggressive decks, and it's kind of polarizing in that sense. But I think there are a lot of interesting cards in this format, a lot of viable archetypes, and sometimes it's fun to just play a format where you get to spam item cards and draw your whole deck. Like sometimes you just want to do that. And that's why retro is great, is if I want to do that, I'll go play 2016 for a little bit, but I'm not forced to. It's not the current standard format. So if I'm not feeling it anymore, I'll go play something else. So that was very fun. And that was actually the day before the main event. So I thought that was the highlight of my weekend, was making top 8 at the tournament. And I was like, all right, I get to make a Twitter post. That's all I wanted to be able to do.
Yeah.
And then main event, made my first day too. It was kind of sad because on Saturday there was a Battle Styles through Paldean Fates format tournament that was being held on that Saturday.
Wait,
and I couldn't play in it because I was playing in day 2. So I brought my not my Night March deck, my Lost Box deck.
Yes.
Brought that with me. I was ready to go. Didn't get to play it. So there was also a Diamond and Pearl Block tournament happening then too that I couldn't play in either. So missed out on retro with my friends. How sad.
Do you know what won the tournaments?
Yeah, so 2016 was won by Volcanion.
Okay.
They got a little lucky. They played against Vileplume decks or Vespiquen decks like all of Top Cut, I think. So
Nice.
They played against Vespiquen, I think was their top 8 run. Good for them.
Yeah. Good medical.
So the Battle Styles tournament, my understanding was that I think it was just 4 rounds of Swiss. Is what they played. And that was announced ahead of time. It was like, hey, no matter how many people we get, it's just 4 rounds of Swiss. So I don't know how many 4-0 players there were. I don't know if they played either, but there were like 50 players. So I imagine there were several 4-0s that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Diamond Pearl through Arceus, DP block format. Stefan Tobacco won with a Gardevoir deck. So happy for him. Apparently Gardevoir isn't, people don't think it's that good in that format, so that's kind of cool that he got to win with it.
Oh yeah, this is like legally distinct from 2010 Worlds.
Yeah, it's only 2 sets off, but no Harcold Soul Silver means no double colorless energy, which is very big difference. I mean, aside from Gardevoir, also means like Garchomp can't Dragon Rush for a single energy. And Garchomp is still very good in DP block. Like, it does not need DCE to be a very strong card. But yeah, that format has a bit of a different flavor to it. Nick Capo Bianco, he's the one who hosts the event. He's done it the last few years now. And it's like, it's not a super popular format. It's not unpopular, but we don't have a ton of events for it. But that's like his own pet format. So he always hosts every year. And it's kind of nice to give people a chance to play that format. I know Puka won. Oh, wait. Yeah, I think Puka won one of those tournaments a few years ago with Dialga Chomp. Or it was Jimmy O'Brien. They played in the finals, which is cool. Both old players coming back. I like it. Stefan's been around forever too. And he also, the trophies that he has are they're styled in the same way as the trophies used to be back in the day. where it was like all glass. It's like this kind of rounded rectangle, like half of a cylinder, and it's all glass, and it's just like etched in, like lasered in with like a Pokemon silhouette, and then it'll say like whatever tournament name, first place.
Yeah.
And
No, Austin, you were
Yeah.
flexing the mat you got at the RSPK tournament in,
Yes,
remind me,
Seattle.
in Seattle, yeah.
Yeah,
You guys
yeah.
get some, like, some of that retro swag is just like so peak. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah. Well, I think retro is like it's a working man's hobby in a way where, well, it's also like a lot of these tournaments are just like outside of the purview, is that the right word, of TPCI, so people are a lot more creative in like what they can do, and also because it's like community driven, it's a lot easier to justify, because the RSPK tournament, I'm not like deep into that, but it is like a very like diehard subculture
yeah,
of the Pokemon trading card game. There's like some people there who like I talked to, and this is kind of like their only like Pokemon trading card game format they like care about
Yeah,
currently.
yeah, yeah.
And I think it's just like it's nice. Well, when a community is so small, like it's a lot easier to like justify doing nice things for it
yeah.
in a way, because it's almost like you're just doing it for your friends, especially if it is like a small friendly community. Maybe just a rant on that. But yeah, I think it's like we do. It's kind of similar to the trophy we have for the GLC yearly, where it's that really nice like 3D printed one that Pat, or the special mat that Connor won,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and the TOs. It's the same idea where it's like if you have if you foster like a very close knit diehard community, it's easy to like for people to want to put in that extra effort to build special bespoke prizing.
Yeah. I think too, like when it is so niche, it's kind of easy to like low-key pander where it's like, holy shit, there's Stantlers on the map, like, or like, OMG, there's Okidogi in the little fighting section, like, love that guy, I play so many games against him.
Yeah, I love that mat for like all of the little Easter eggs on it. Like there's the Gardevoir, there's the Stantler. There's like there's just like a lot of like little cute things on it. So you can tell like I think it was JP was the one who commissioned it.
For the Holland Cup playmat?
This wasn't the Holland Cup.
Not
It
the
was
Holland
just
Cup.
like it was like a 1K, I think.
Oh
for
yeah,
Seattle.
I know which mat you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
JP commissioned that. It's got like the Stantler, and there's like a
Yeah.
like a
There's like a
Magneton.
Yeah. Normally there's cards above it, so like I don't look at it that intently. But I do recognize a Stantler and cast form on there.
Of course.
Yeah, this year's playmat. So at the RSPK tournament at NAIC, they also commissioned a playmat art. It's really good. Let me go get it. I can show you. It's like
But there's RSPK too. We didn't even cover this. I didn't even know about this.
I don't play RSPK at a competitive level.
Sure.
So I love the EX era, but RSPK is not really my kind of format.
Sure.
I just prefer the dynamics of other EX era formats a bit more. RSPK is very focused on power lock and hand attack, and like forcing your opponent to take prize cards and or trying to play behind on prize cards are like the main dynamics of that format. And for me, I think RSPK is a little too heavy on the on the locking and the hand attacking personally, but that's just me. So I guess you could say I spectated the RSPK tournament. I kind of was the unofficial judge. Like,
Sure.
I was just hanging around because that was my first time getting to see a lot of my friends that weekend because I had been busy playing in day 2. So I was just hanging around, and then people were calling for judges, and I was like, yeah, let me answer for you. So it was fun. I enjoyed it. Michael Bio ended up winning with Gardevoir, which is a very top tier deck. So not too surprised that Gardevoir ended up winning. But yeah, and one thing to kind of go back to the conversation about like the fun, extra like community centric things people have been doing, in addition to the playmats and the trophies, is that RSPK people have been commissioning like custom alternate art versions of cards. So it'll be like Mew Star, but it's Mew Star as a card with the same text and everything, but the art is drawn by someone else, and it's like their rendition of Mew Star. And I've also seen this for, I think the Fire Mew also has one, and then I just recently saw that Jirachi from Deoxys is also getting one. I don't know if that one has been printed and handed out yet, or if I just saw like the art that's for it, but that's been really cool. And the RS to PK community is particularly pro proxy. Like, they do not care at all about if you're using proxies or not, which is a good thing because that format is has a very high financial barrier to entry if you're going to use real cards, is what I will say. So like retro in general is pretty pro proxy, but in RSPK there's kind of two different camps in the community, and they coincide. Like, they're very symbiotic with each other, but it's very funny. You have the players who are building their decks with fully real cards, and they like bling out the decks, and then like, you know, they'll be like, hey, sign my card for me. So like they've got these super expensive decks that are all like marked up with marker, and like they love that side of it. And then the other half is people who have never purchased an actual Pokemon card in their life and strictly proxy all of their decks. Like Eric Reeds is a very, very prominent RSPK player. He's one of the best players in the world in the format. He does not own cards. When he plays in real life tournaments, at least at last year's Brew City Showdown held in Milwaukee, which was like kind of the big RSPK tournament that was held in the US last year, he had to borrow cards for the event because he just doesn't own anything. And that's like his thing, is he's like, I don't want to own Pokemon cards. I just want to play. And, you know, he could speak for it better, but I think it's because he started playing on TCG1, where it's a simulator, so all the cards are free to access at all times. So if you're learning to play on TCG1, then what incentive do you have to buy the cards if you're used to basically proxying them, right? So I think it's cool that people have taken that like very pro proxy identity and sentiment of the community, and they have turned it into a fun thing to have for events, to like give people promos for attending the event, where it's like an alternate art proxy. And I think it's really, really cool. I think it's a great example of like what the grassroots side of things can do. And I really wish TPCI would get off our backs. You know?
Yeah. It's almost like a community reprint in that way.
Yeah, I do have the custom Mew Star and the Fire Mew proxies.
Yeah. Promos,
and they're in my special binder. As like, whenever I got them, because I didn't know, it wasn't advertised that they were giving it. So whenever they were like, "Oh, did you get your proxies?" I was like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." Because I just came, I heard there was a map for top 32, and I was actually freaking out that they were going to go over 32 and there was a chance I wouldn't get the map, but they were exactly 32.
Nice.
So
easy.
I think there was like 2 no-shows or something. And I
Like
was
that.
like, no. But yeah,
It's a
it
lot
was
of fun.
super cool. Like, I scrubbed out so hard, but I think I went like 2-3 drop or something like that to go back to the convention center. But it was like still super fun experience. And I think like even if you're not into the format, especially with how like proxy friendly the community is, it's like worthwhile just to try it out.
Absolutely. And like even at this RSPK tournament this last weekend, a lot of those players I think were playing the format for maybe the first or second time. Alex Torres, he was playing in the tournament, and that was his first time playing it, and he was playing Dragtrode, which is a deck I love. And so I kind of like I taught him the basics of Dragtrode. You know, here's your strategy, here's your game plan, here's some good tips. And he went 3-3 with it. And I think that's a great record for your first ever RSPK tournament.
Yeah.
And he just came up to me afterwards and was like, I shouldn't have played in this tournament because now I'm looking up the prices of these cards and I want to buy them. So I think later on he said he's going to like proxy them. But like, I think it's awesome that someone who's never played the format plays it once, sees how awesome these cards are. Gen 3's card design is amazing. Even if RSPK itself isn't my favorite way to play with those cards, just getting to play with the EX era cards is something everyone should do. It is super high on the complexity level, but it's also very balanced and varied. It just has so many options. So when he finished the tournament and said, I'm going to go proxy these decks and build them myself, best thing you could experience as someone new to a retro format is to have that experience. So I bring my 06 decks to League a lot, and I'm slowly getting people to try them out with me. So, you know, if you're listening out there, you should try the EX era, even just for fun. Don't be too intimidated. It's okay to learn new cards. That's part of the fun of it. You don't have to get everything right away, but it's a way to experience the game in a way that's different from standard, but you're still enjoying yourself. So that's my pitch for you.
And I love too, like, from what I visited of 06, it's great to see a lot of the like originals of certain archetypes or like styles of cards. Like, oh, I don't like this card has a lot of text on it, but if you tell me it's like Countercatcher, then it's like I'm so instantly on board with what we're doing here. Or if you tell me, this card is like Turo, easy, I'm there, So it's cool to see like the way those effects kind of evolve through the game, especially with respect to like power level. I mean, just the numbers can be interesting, but it's fun to see like how certain things work under different like engines as well. Retro's super fun, man.
Yeah, I love the EX era. I think it's interesting because the like 4 Worlds formats, 04 to 07, are all like different enough. 04 is like a little different from 05. That's kind of like the stepchild, or it's definitely the in-betweener of like 04 and 06. But like 05 has things that are very distinct about it that aren't transitioned over to 06, and then like 07 is like this weird thing. And then RSPK feels like very different from all of them, despite having all of the cards. And I think there's like, if you try all of them out, there's bound to be one you're gonna like.
I agree.
06 is probably like my favorite format I've played, and I think after like diving into RSPK, I think that still holds true that I prefer 06. I think I just like the dynamics of the decks a lot more.
You also like Ludi Cargo.
I like Ludi Cargo, but I like a lot of the other decks. Like I think Ditto Queen's really cool. Ryax is really cool. And I think like the top tiers are like all really interesting in like different ways. LBS, Dragtrode, Bombtar. There's like a fourth that's like up there, and I can never remember it.
Mutrick.
Mutrick, yeah. Or like there even are control decks that are like really interesting. Mewlock is a very interesting deck to play against. Even though it is like really obnoxious. And there is like a lot of like really, it has a very definitive top tier. And then like this tier 3 that's like super wide. And even like some of those tier 3 and tier 2 decks are like kind of indistinguishable. But like a lot of the tier 3 can still like hold its own against the tier 1 under the right circumstances. Or they can be built in ways. Because there is just like in the EX era, like one of their big things beyond like the amount of comeback cards is like also how much like counter cards they printed. Like there's a lot of things that are like there's, God, what am I thinking of? Battle Frontier. That's just like you're out to the power of like colorless, steel, and
Psychic?
dark.
Dark, yeah.
I think it's dark.
It's the three types that didn't have a basic energy during that era.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even put that together until just now. I was just like, oh, these are the 3 most broken types. Because it's like, it's like just Pidgey. It's Pidgeot hate. It's like the dark type hate. And then like, or the like Team Rockets.
Yeah.
And then like the Holland.
Yeah, like a lot of Delta species Pokemon happen to be metal. So it's good against those.
Or the ones more that have like problematic abilities or really powerful abilities. And I think there's a lot of like really good back and forth between it. And there's not a lot of like super sunken matchups. Lunatone Solrock's another like really obnoxious deck. But it is like, it's interesting. Like it is like a like pseudo degenerate like aggressive deck. But it does like a lot of interesting things with it. Like with the different printings of like the different Lunatone and Solrock, where it's like they're just really interesting decks to play. As somebody who just likes the design of the Pokemon TCG, like you're normally playing something that does something interesting, and you're playing against something that does something interesting, and then like there's cards within your deck that have like really intriguing interactions with each other. Everyone has a chance.
Yeah.
Also with Pow Hand Extension. Like games can really,
I love
with
card.
Briny Pow Hand Extension and like Holland Transceiver, those like 3 together. If you're running like a Holland engine or Pidgeot, like there's a lot of ways to like stick in the game even if you're down, where like I think that is a problem with a lot of Pokemon formats, where like if you're down at a certain point, you just got to scoop it up if you want to like save time.
I think during the 2006 tournament we had at Good Games, I played 3 POWs in 1 turn, 2 to knock off energy, 1 to gust an EX, and then used Weezing's liability to blow myself up and take a 2-for-1 prize trade.
Yeah.
And I remember just being like, this is peak actually. Like this is a great format. I was gonna say too, like one of my favorite GLC matchups I've ever played was like Archop's Evolock Spread versus Garbodor Psychic. Once you start like involving Wobbuffet and Garbodor and Silent Lab and Archops and TM Devo, it becomes very confusing, like who can do what at any given moment. 2006 off the rip, you know, like there's a lot of interaction and yeah, super unique.
So there's a fun 06 deck. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. It's Metacham Bannet, which fun little history lesson. Going into Worlds in that year, Metacham Bannet was like rumored as like the secret deck. Like people figured out Metacham Bannet is the deck that's going to win Worlds, and the argument was like Bannet hits really hard, but it loses to Tyranitar, but Medicham can knock out Tyranitar, and Medicham is a fine card, but it lacks firepower, and Bannet can do that. Spoiler alert, not a very good deck. One person did manage to make day 2, which at that time was only top 32. They managed to make top 32 with Medicham Bannet, and that was Michael Pramawat. So if your deck requires one of the greatest players of all time in order to pilot it to top 32, probably not very good. But he did it, so I have it built. And that deck has 3 different ways to power lock your opponent, like simultaneously.
Yeah.
So Medicham, it has a Poke Body that says when Medicham is active, it shuts off all Poke Powers from non-EX Pokemon. The deck also plays Lunatone and Solrock, which say they turn off the powers of colorless Pokemon and a fire-type Pokemon.
Right.
And the deck plays Battle Frontier, which shuts off evolved metal, colorless, and dark Pokemon. So you can have a board with an active Medicham, a Battle Frontier in play, and a Lunatone and Solrock on the bench, and you're triple power locking your opponent, basically making it impossible for them to get out of the lock. Like, they can't even play a giant stump to make you discard your rocks because you still have Medicham active. Or like if they pow around your Medicham, well, you still have the Stadium and the Lunatone. So it's fun. I just think it's really funny that you have that. And with RSPK, I think once Cessation Crystal is a thing, then it becomes a little too easy to power lock. Because all Cessation Crystal needs is to be attached to the active. So it's kind of like a tool that gives any Pokemon Medicham's body. So, Cess also turns off EX Pokemon. But like, again, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I do appreciate that in 06 you do have to work to lock out your opponent. You can't just slap 4 Cess in any deck and say you're good to go. Like, you have to make an intentional choice. Am I a Battle Frontier deck? Am I a Lunatone Solrock deck? Things like that are necessary. Oh, and also, one of my favorite things about the EX era is that Poke Powers get shut off by special conditions. So, like Nidoqueen, you can use Toxic. Not only is it poisoning them out, it's also turning off their powers, which is really awesome. Especially in like the Dragstrode matchup, it's very interesting where you can poison their Dragonite. And then they have to decide, do I get a second Dragonite down just to be able to Dark Trance? I could talk forever about the intricacies of this format. But instead of doing that, I want to plug that very soon I will be posting a thread on Twitter with my up-to-date 2006 collection. I'll be posting the lists and like small little blurbs about the decks. So once that's posted, it'll be pinned to my account. So it'll be available there. You just go to my profile. That'll be the top post on it. And I plan on doing that very, very, very soon. So if you're interested in 06, go check out my thread. You can also check out my 06 tier list video that I made. Has it been 2 years yet?
Probably been about that.
It might be 2 years old at this point. I've been very inactive on YouTube, but I go much more in depth on 06 and like the deck interactions in that video. So it's a great format. Everyone should play it.
Yeah, and we'll certainly have your Twitter, YouTube, and anything else you want linked down in the description. So, dear viewer, please check those out. Evan's actually like an amazing resource, a mind for retro. He has written a lot of great resources. He himself is not a resource, he's a person, but there are many great resources he has created that you should definitely check out. They've gotten me into retro formats. They've gotten many of our friends into it. Any other plugs, shout outs you want to hit us with?
Shout out to the Clubhouse for having me. And shout out to just the Chicago scene in general. I love y'all. I'm glad that we've made something out of this, and we're going to continue having a great time together. Lots of amazing players, great folks. Shout out to Kara Quaren for being the person to like really foster this love of retro within me. Also, just like I want to thank everyone who has just supported me through this day 2. I've been around for a long time. I know a lot of people, but it hits different when it's the moment like I'm in the venue and I walk out of the event hall and I've got so many people I run into congratulating me on making day 2, and then I'm online and I get a lot of support there. Going to locals on Thursday, a lot of people congratulated me. I was on the plane home from NAIC, and the person I'm sitting next to in the aisle is like, "Hey, you made day 2, right?" I was like, "Yeah." So, yeah, I have felt very loved and supported, and I appreciate everyone for reaching out, and I couldn't have done it without you. And I hope this isn't the only one. I do feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders, so even though it's unlikely I'll be entering many major events in the future, I'm still in my semi-retired status right now. That's not really changing anytime soon. It'll be nice to know that if I do compete in a major event that I'll try my best and I'll have a shot. So those are my shout outs. Just thank you everyone. Love y'all. And hit me up if you ever want to chat about Pokemon. I'm always happy to talk. Happy to talk online or at events. If you see me, come say hi. Just love getting to meet everyone. So it's a great group of folks out here.
True, absolutely. Austin, what's our emoji this week?
I don't know if we've had it. We could do a bunny. We can do a snowflake.
Good old
I don't think
egg.
there's like... Oh, we can do an egg.
Yeah. Drop your eggs in the comments.
Yeah, drop the eggs.
There you go.
Give everybody an egg. An egg in this trying time.
Yeah,
rate this episode out of 5 eggs.
True.
I would give it like 6 or 7.
Oh, that's a lot of eggs.
Yeah, it's like half a dozen.
Appreciate the support, of course. We've got our own Twitter that you should most certainly follow. Yeah. We'll post episodes there. You can check out our exclusive 40-minute The Dunsparce Patreon episode that came during our technical difficulties. We got so wrapped up into Dunsparce we didn't even realize.
It got a little heated there, actually, so maybe it was for the best that it got cut out.
Yeah, it's paywalled, so we don't,
That's true. Yeah. Fully uncensored.
For real.
Absolutely. Austin's pleasure as always. To Evan, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Love you all.
Bye.